Shalom and welcome back to By His Grace Marriage Ministry Podcast. My name is Amanda and I pray that you all are having a blessed day. So this is going to be a quick update in regard to the audio scriptures that I have been working on. I pray that it's been a blessing to all of you, and I know that it's been a blessing for me as well. Unfortunately, I have some rather frustrating news to share, and it's similar to what I shared fairly recently. It hasn't been that long. And I'm really confused as to what is happening. I have an idea of what it may be, but just not sure how to really move forward or the next steps to take. So, for those of you who don't know, I had an issue previously, fairly recently, where I began to record the Book of Jubilees for audio scripture. And I had done the very first episode, chapters 1 through 5. And shortly after I had published that episode, I received an email about possible infringing. And for those of you who don't know what infringing means, it just means like copyright issues or just, things along that nature. So this came as like a great shock for me because I've had my podcast for almost 2 years and I have over 200 episodes, and apart from the audio scriptures, I never have ever received an email about possible infringing on any of my episodes. And even though my podcast is my marriage ministry, so I focus mainly on words about marriage and family, Yahuwah's way, it's in the eyes of society or the world, it's religious or faith-based, and I've never had issues with what I've shared throughout my podcast until I started doing the audio scriptures. But the even stranger thing is that I started doing the audio scriptures and I had no issues at first. I recorded the whole book of the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. So I recorded all 12 of the Patriarchs' testimonies. I then recorded the additional Psalms. Then I recorded 2 prayers. And then I recorded, I'm trying to remember. I recorded the whole book of Sirach. And then I recorded the whole book of Enoch. And I didn't have any issues whatsoever. I never received an email or notification about possible infringing. And then I was like, okay, after Enoch, the plan is to then go into the book of Jubilees. And then after Jubilees, the plan was to go into the book of Jashar and so on. So I just kind of would do it however the Ruach would lead me, So I knew that Jubilees was next. And I recorded the first 5 chapters of Jubilees. And I think like 10 minutes after I had published it is when I received that notification. So I came on one of the episodes for the Vain Traditions of Men series that I did recently. Towards the end or the beginning, I had explained what happened and that I submitted an appeal to fight it because I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not copywriting. I'm not anything. In all of my episodes, I always announce that if people want to, download a free PDF copy or purchase a physical copy of the scriptures that I'm using, you can visit the website. So I've never claimed to own these or, how can I? It's Yah's word, I've never claimed to take it from anybody. I've always given credit where credit is due. If I've ever used books on my podcast, written by, various authors, I've always put that in the description boxes within each episode. I've never taken credit where I shouldn't be. So I've never had an issue with this until I released the first episode of Jubilees. I submitted an appeal. They removed the episode pretty much right away. And I think about like a week or so later, they had come back and let me know that everything was okay. They were going to go ahead and have the episode go back up. And by then I had already deleted it. And I was just like, if they give me the green light, I'm going to re-record it. And that's what I did. I re-recorded the first 5 chapters of Jubilees and everything went well. I didn't receive a notification or anything like that. So then a couple days went by. So now to today, I was like, oh, I need to, go ahead and record a few more chapters of Jubilees. So I just did that. I recorded chapters 6 through 10. I'm going 5 chapters every episode. And I published it, and 10 minutes later, I got an email about possible infringing again. And I'm like, what is going on? We just went through this whole thing. It's the same book, just different chapters. I don't know what is going on with the Book of Jubilees that this is happening. When it happened with the first 5 chapters of Jubilees, I was like, okay. I took a break, and then I finished the Vain Traditions of Men series. I did the last couple of episodes or parts to that series while I was waiting to hear back, because the thing was, I didn't want to record anymore, especially from Jubilees, if they were finding a problem with it. I didn't want to take a risk of publishing again another episode and then them possibly removing my entire podcast. And I just thought that would be devastating, because I've put so much work and time into my podcast. Praise Yah, this is my ministry. And I've put in a lot of work to this podcast. And if I were to lose all of it, I would just be devastated. So I didn't want to take any chances. At the same time I was praying, I came on the podcast and asked for prayer as well, which thank you all so much. And things worked in my favor to where, ended up receiving, the green light to go ahead and continue. I don't know what's going on. So then in the meantime, while I was waiting, I recorded the Book of Tobit, because I was like, okay, the Book of Tobit is only 14 chapters and it's one of my favorite books. And I had a marriage word to tie into it afterwards. So I said, I'll focus on that while I'm waiting to see what's going to happen concerning the Book of Jubilees, or even, my Set Apart Audio Scriptures project as a whole, because I just wasn't sure. And again, I didn't want to take a chance of losing my whole entire podcast. So I recorded the whole book of Tobit, and it went really well. It only took 3 episodes because it was only 14 chapters. And I was also able to record the marriage word that I had that tied into the Book of Tobit, and also recorded and published that, and everything went well. And there was no problems, there was no issues. And then shortly after that, they emailed me that they said everything was okay with the, Jubilees episode. And I was like, great. So I re-recorded the first 5 chapters and I published it, and all went well. Praise Yah. And I was like, okay, great. In a couple days, I'll work on the next 5 chapters, and so on and so forth. So that's what I did today. I did chapter 6 through 10, and I received an email again, and I believe they've removed the episode. So I'm frustrated, because I don't understand why this is continuing to happen. Again, I've never had this happen to my podcast, and I don't know why it's only with the Book of Jubilees. So personally, for me, it tells me, 2 things. That number 1, I believe that Jubilees is definitely scripture. And there's a reason why this keeps happening, and not that the other ones aren't. I also believe, so, the reason why I've recorded what I have so far is because I believe it to be, I've tested it. I have, seen studies from others as well that agree that these are scripture, and that they were removed at some point from either the 1611 KJV or the 1599 Geneva, or both. So the ones I've done so far are the ones that were in the, a part of the canonized scriptures, right? And then they were removed. So Jubilees and Jashar, and a couple of others, some people are still kind of back and forth on it, because they feel that there are things in each of these books that kind of contradict one another. But I personally, I've read Jubilees quite a few times over, and I believe it to be scripture. There are some things in there that kind of contradict Jashar. And the reason why that is because the Book of Jubilees and the Book of Jashar, both of them are accounts, or what I call extensions, to the Book of Genesis. It goes into much more detail of the life of Abraham, the life of Jacob and his sons, Yisrael. It just goes into so much detail of all of the accounts in the Book of Genesis, which is one of my favorite books. So I love both Jubilees and Jashar. However, there are some parts within both of them that kind of contradict one another. So Moving forward, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bother to appeal again, because I don't want to keep going through this process. Obviously, there's something within the Book of Jubilees. There's something in there. What? I don't know. That keeps automatically like flagging, these episodes. And again, I have over 200 episodes, and I've never had this happen to anything. And I've talked about every area of marriage, including intimacy. Of course, never in derogatory ways or really like inappropriately or anything like that. But I have talked about a lot of different things. I've even talked about, governmental issues and, just a lot of things that, if anything, I would have thought that might have maybe caused a stir or an issue. And it's never happened. And all of a sudden I go to record a specific book from the scriptures, and this is happening. So I definitely would say that it's an attack from Hasatan, to not get the word of Yah out there, to not get truth out there. And while I don't want to give up, I'm not exactly giving up. I'm just, at this point, I'm not going to continue to try and release the Book of Jubilees at this point, because I don't know what's going on. All I can do is continue to just pray. And if y'all feel led, could you please pray in regards to this as well? But I guess right now the Book of Jubilees is just not something that I can move forward with at this time. So what I'm going to do in Yehushua's name is I'm going to go ahead and try to do the Book of Jashar. The Book of Jashar is very similar to Jubilees, and I want to see if maybe that's what I can do instead for now. And maybe down the road eventually release Jubilees, or maybe I may never be able to release Jubilees. But at least if I can get Jashar on there, then at least we have that account. If in Yehushua's name, nothing happens, and if they start to flag episodes of Jashar, then I'm going to have to then move on to something else. And, I don't know. Other than, again, I personally believe Jashar and Jubilees to be scripture. And I believe they hold a lot of truth. As you'll see, if I get to release, hopefully at least the Book of Jashar. Now the Book of Jashar is longer. It has more chapters. I think it's probably about the same length as Enoch, but with the Book of Enoch, a lot of the chapters in the Book of Enoch, some of them were like 3 sentences or 2 paragraphs, and then that was it. That was the whole chapter. These chapters are pretty lengthy in Jashar for the most part, about normal length. So it is going to be a longer book, which is why I wasn't going into it straight away, just because it's a longer book. But I guess I'm going to have to attempt to do that, because I don't know. I have a plan. If the same thing happens with Jashar, then I do have some other books that I want to share, such as the writings of Abraham, and I guess the writings of Abraham. I'm not sure about the book of Adam and Eve yet. I still am in the testing phases with that book. I'm not quite sure yet, but there are other books that I do want to share from the Apocrypha or the Matmonim. And I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue with this project. I really want to get the word of Yah out there. And I don't know. I mean, if I keep having these issues with the books of the Apocrypha, then I might have to move to the 66 canon and I guess, try there. Now, I will share with you all, I did some thinking and praying about moving to the YouTube platform. But there were a couple of issues with this. Number one, I utilize YouTube daily for my own personal things, but I utilize it in the sense of watching things. I have a channel, but I don't utilize it in the way that many do. So I am absolutely clueless as to how to navigate YouTube Studio or, make and release videos or anything like that. Because the thing about my podcast is I don't feel led to have actual videos, like recording myself, releasing the words that I have or messages that I have on my podcast. I just kind of want it to be like a still screen, That's one of the reasons why I chose a podcasting platform in the first place. I not really feel led to do videos at this time. But the thing is, I'm absolutely clueless as to how to use YouTube in that manner. And I tried, brothers and sisters, I tried to create, to do like just the audio scriptures. I was like, if anything, I'll just do the set apart audio scriptures on YouTube and still keep my marriage ministry on my podcast, you know? So I had a couple of options. I could either do that to where I would just start brand new, just audio scriptures and, you know, leave my podcast the way it is. Or I could try to transfer my whole entire podcast to YouTube. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool. You know, it would reach more people and so on. Well, I tried that process and I didn't like that it's asking you for like ID or, you know, to do like a video of your face to identify you. And then they were talking about that it was going to be processed in a different country. And I was just like, I didn't have a good feeling about it. I was like, no, with all the scams and things like that going on, I just don't trust it. I was like, it's ridiculous that I have to do all of that just to transfer my podcast to YouTube. I was like, no thanks. And I don't even understand that considering all the garbage that is in YouTube. You know, I like YouTube because I'm able to connect with my fellowship and I'm able to, you know, listen to, you know, set apart music and videos and things like that. YouTube can be an absolute blessing. But at the same time, there's a very dark side to YouTube. And it's like, okay, it allows all the, you know, of course, it allows all this garbage and whatnot, but I just want to transfer my podcast and it's asking me for all this red tape, you know, and it's just like, I'm not going to do it. You know, I don't trust it. So I was like, okay, that's out. So then I said, let me just try to create a brand new playlist and I'll just do the scriptures, the audio scriptures, and I'll leave my marriage ministry where it's at, you know, and, so I tried to do that, and brothers and sisters, I just couldn't figure it out. I watched numerous videos. I tried to understand it to the best of my knowledge. I wasn't able to get the hang of it. And honestly, I felt like maybe Yahuwah was letting me know, you know, to keep my ministry where it's at, to remain on that platform and continue that way. You know, maybe YouTube is just not the platform for me, for my ministry, at least not in this season. And I have felt that way for some time, which is why I started out podcasting. That's why my ministry is in podcasting and not a YouTube channel like many others. Okay, and no judgment, because again, there are many ministries that are a blessing, but then there are a lot of, unfortunately, people who are misleading and then again, there's a dark side to YouTube. So there's a lot, brothers and sisters, but I just never really felt led to do YouTube. I didn't really want to be a part of that world. I didn't really want to end up, you know, especially being a marriage ministry, because for quite a few years, since like 2017, there's been this trend going around about like kingdom marriages, and I didn't want to be a part of that because that wasn't the purpose of my ministry. You know what I mean? So, and I've talked about that in separate episodes, but okay. So anyways, back to the matter at hand. So if y'all could please pray concerning this, because I am at an absolute loss for words with why this is happening. And it only seems to be happening with the Book of Jubilees. I don't know what's going on with that. I really hope and pray that I can get to the point where I can release this book to you all. I mean, of course, you all have access to it. I mean, you can, like I've said in so many of my episodes, you can download a PDF copy, read it for yourselves, but some of you want to hear it. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to record it so y'all can listen to it, but it's not working out. I don't know what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the one episode that they accepted, which was the first 5 chapters. I'm just going to go ahead and I guess remove it. Or maybe I should leave it on so they see that they accepted. I don't know. But the thing is that I'm going to stop trying to release the Book of Jubilees, and I'm going to go ahead and start the Book of Jashar in Yahushua's name, since they're similar. and just pray for the best, pray that there won't be any issues. So I will try to do that here a little bit later, because I just spent almost an hour recording the other 5 chapters of Jubilees. And yeah, that was another thing that was very frustrating as well, because, oh my, it's storming here. I apologize about that, brothers and sisters. Wow. I love thunder. So it's nice. Being in Colorado, we don't get many storms like that. So it's kind of nice that we're getting that. But I apologize for that background noise there. But so anyways, brothers and sisters, that's my plan moving forward, is to start the book of Jashar. I also have an episode that I'm going to be releasing to you all coming up soon, probably in the next few days. It's not really a marriage word. It's more like a relational word, because I'm going to be talking about the topic of lust. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. I'm going to kind of share a bit of a trial that I endured fairly recently. And there's also a lot of scripture and accounts that I've come across throughout the scriptures in my personal time that I want to share as well. I'm also doing this as kind of an add-on to some episodes that I did not too long ago, the end of last year. I released a few episodes in regards to the topics of affairs and different types of affairs, physical affairs, emotional affairs, and connections. I talked, a little bit about lust and how people fall into these situations. I've talked about warnings, fatal attraction, things like that. I did quite a few episodes surrounding that topic. I think that's in the end of, I want to say, the 7th season, I think. Possibly 8th, end of season 7, beginning of season 8, I believe. So I did talk quite a bit about that topic. And I don't know, I feel led to do another episode in regards to this topic again. But I'm also going to be sharing, not in much great detail, but I'm also going to be sharing a little bit of a trial that I experienced fairly recently that have to do with that. And I want to share it because I feel that it could possibly help other people. And what it did for me too was it opened my eyes to why this happens. Because even before I started my marriage ministry, I used to think a lot about, how could people be unfaithful in their marriages to their spouses? And it used to really give me this anger and, really just used to make me even feel ill. Like, how can people do this? And, the trial that I went through, it helped me to open my eyes and understand more how this actually happens. And that most of the time it's not people that are actually looking to intentionally cheat. It just happens, it's, and this is why I want to talk about this more and share this, because we, especially as believers and in the body, we need to be very careful and very vigilant and diligent on protecting and guarding ourselves, our purity, guarding our eyes, lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, things like that. I want to share this, brothers and sisters, because it's not only real, it's very dangerous and it can cause a lot of destruction. And so in this episode, I'm going to be sharing some accounts where, people in the scriptures actually dealt with these things. And some of you might already know a couple right off the top of your head of who I might be referring to. So stay tuned for that episode. I'm still kind of putting it together more or less and kind of developing the courage, if you will, to kind of share a little bit about myself and what I endured. It's not really going to be easy, but I feel, to do it so that it might maybe possibly help somebody or people out there that might be going through the same thing. So be on the lookout for that episode. That'll be again within the next few days or so. I always just let the Ruach lead me and guide me on when to release an episode. Also, too, I have to factor in my surroundings. Is it quiet enough to where there's not going to be a lot of background noise? And, yeah. But anyways, brothers and sisters, my apologies, my sincerest apologies that I can't get the Book of Jubilees to you all at this time. Again, let's just pray that I can record and release the Book of Jashar, because Jashar is quite similar to Jubilees and has a lot of great stuff. Jashar is a great book. It has a lot in there. So let's just pray that I'll be able to do that and go from there, So in Yahushua's name. And again, be on the lookout for another, marriage word or relational word that I'll have coming out here in the next few days or so. It's going to be a good one, y'all. It's going to be a good one. Might be tough to hear, might be tough to kind of take in, but I think it's important. And again, if that's a topic of interest for you or something you want to hear more about, until I release that episode, you can go ahead and check out the other episodes that I released in regards to that same topic of like affairs. How do they happen? Why do they happen? Types of affairs, the dangers of attraction, fatal attraction, just things like that. Go ahead and check out those episodes. You'll find them again either towards the end of the 7th season, possibly going into the 8th season of the podcast. I can't remember. There are so many episodes, praise Yah. It's hard for me to remember, y'all. So I apologize in regards to that. And actually, those episodes that I released were right around the time that I was actually going through my personal trial. And that's why I was able to release those episodes as well. So, yeah. So anyways, be on the lookout for that. It could be this evening I release it. It could be tomorrow. It could be on the Shabbat. It could be, who knows, the next few days. But I'm going to try to really work on getting at least a couple of chapters of Jashar out to you all, in place of not being able to really have the first 5 chapters are there. I don't know. Maybe I'll release it, maybe I'll leave it there. Maybe I won't delete it. There just isn't going to be any more further episodes or further chapters from that book. So just so y'all know, like, why is there only one episode of Jubilees and now we're doing Jashar or another book? That's why. So I don't know. But anyways, that's the update. Sorry, it's not a very positive one, but again, if you feel led, just please pray to protect the podcast and the ministry, and that I would be able to release more of Yah's word so you all can hear it. And again, if worse comes to worse, if you all really want to learn more about Jubilees, if you can, read it. Download the free PDF at yahscriptures.com and check it out. I think it's 50 or 51 chapters. It's not too long. It's a great book, though. So, all right, brothers and sisters. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the episode, even though it's not really great news and the stormy weather in the background. I apologize for that. Just, one of the things of ups and downs of podcasting, I guess. I don't know. So anyways, that's everything, brothers and sisters. If you have any questions or concerns, or you just need prayer, or you want to chat, connect, whatever, please reach out to me, connect with me via the ministry email at byhisgracemarriage@gmail.com. And I'd love to hear from you and help you in any way that I can. So, all right, brothers and sisters, that's it for now. Again, be on the lookout for either an episode of Jashar, hopefully, or the marriage word that I'm going to have coming out here soon. So, all right, brothers and sisters, I pray you all have a blessed day. Take very good care. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will talk with you in my next episodes. Shalom.